The dazzling princess of the Monaco Palace. Princess Caroline. Behind the glittering lights lies a life filled with loss, grief, pain, rebirth, and endless storms. The legendary news begins. When we hear the word princess, most of us immediately imagine a romantic image of a young and beautiful girl and a crown on her head. Unfortunately, however, the real life of Princess Caroline of Monaco, whose life we will briefly explore today, was far from this fairy tale and romantic image. Her life was filled with completely different challenges behind the scenes. From the very first day she came into the world, Princess Caroline's life was seen by everyone as a seemingly perfect fairy tale. However, behind all the glittering palaces, prestigious titles, and seemingly limitless wealth lies a life struggle that no one fully knows about, one that is far from easy. This struggle, sometimes filled with deep loneliness, sometimes with great losses and heavy responsibilities, has given Princess Caroline a life struggle that has never been easy since the day she was born, and continues to do so. Now let's take a closer look at Princess Caroline's life and trace the sad, dramatic, and sometimes tragic events hidden in her life. Although known to the public as Princess Caroline, her full name is Caroline Louise Marguerite, and she holds many titles, including Princess of Monaco, Princess of Hanover, Duchess of Brunswick and Lüneburg, and Princess Royal of Great Britain and Ireland. Princess Caroline was born in Monaco in 1957 as the first child of the legendary Hollywood star and Princess of Monaco, Grace Kelly, and Prince Rainier of Monaco. From the moment she was born, she has been followed by the world press for years as the child of this noble and famous family, and continues to be followed today. Caroline's birth was not only significant for the people of Monaco, but also for the international press, who were eager to closely follow the children of a world-renowned legendary couple like her mother Grace Kelly and her father Prince Rainier. However, Caroline's life was far from the picture of happiness found in fairy tales. With a distant relationship with her mother and father, Caroline's life was also filled with strict discipline and hardship. There was an incredible emotional distance and coldness between Caroline and her mother, Grace Kelly, who took her royal responsibilities seriously and lived a busy life of state ceremonies and social events from her childhood onwards. Much of Caroline's childhood and teenage years were spent under the supervision and control of her nanny, Maureen Wood, who was closely involved with her education and daily life, and was known for her disciplined approach. In interviews she gave in later years, Caroline would often mention that she formed her strongest emotional bond in her early life, not with her mother and father, but with her nanny Maureen Wood, whom she saw almost as a mother figure. And she would say that the emotional bond that should have existed between her and her mother was formed with her nanny instead. Incredibly, Caroline never sat at the same table with her mother and father to eat a family meal until she was 14 years old, a situation that further deepened the distance between her and her family. Princess Caroline had 2 more siblings in later years. These new family members brought a new dimension to both palace life and Caroline's childhood. The first of these siblings was her brother Prince Albert, born in 1958 and raised as the future ruler, and the other was her sister Princess Stephanie, born in 1965, who would become known in later years for her colourful personality and eventful life. The bond between Caroline and her brother Albert was greatly strengthened by the fact that they were raised under the care of the same nanny. These shared memories held a defining place in both of their childhood recollections. Grace Kelly was a mother with high expectations. She meticulously planned and closely monitored Caroline's education. Grace Kelly did everything she could to ensure that Caroline not only excelled academically in her classes, but also performed well in sports. Caroline, who stood out in her classes with her diligence and disciplined attitude, successfully completed her education in 1974 and earned her French high school diploma with honours. She then continued her education at St. Mary's School, a prestigious boarding school known for its disciplined structure and one of the most respected educational institutions in England, further increasing her academic knowledge and cultural background. After completing her education at St. Mary's, her deep curiosity for knowledge and passion for learning led Caroline to study at the Institut d'études politiques de Paris. She then earned a degree in philosophy from Sorbonne University and also minored in psychology and biology, crowning her academic career with great success and knowledge. Caroline made her first marriage decision in her youth, based more on her heart than her head. Despite her mother's strong objections, her first marriage was to Philippe Junot, a renowned French banker and one of high society's famous playboys, who was 17 years her senior. Born in Paris in 1940, Philippe Junot came from a wealthy and well-established family. He held an influential and respected position in the business world, particularly in the banking sector. With his good looks and charm, he was one of the most sought-after but promiscuous bachelors of European society and parties. Due to his promiscuous and adventurous attitude towards women, his name was frequently featured in the headlines of gossip magazines, and his social life kept him in the spotlight. Junot, who frequently appeared at parties, luxury events, and exclusive gatherings attended only by select guests, had gained a reputation for his philandering and attracted everyone's attention, including that of Princess Caroline. Despite this playboy image, Junot managed to win the heart of the young Princess Caroline and developed a strong romantic attraction towards her. The fast, intense, and passionate romantic relationship between Caroline and Junot, who met in the late 1970s, swept through like a hurricane and quickly became a major media sensation. Paparazzi followed their relationship everywhere, and the whole world followed this love story with interest in the newspapers. On June 28, 1978, Caroline and Junot were married in a sensational wedding ceremony held in Monaco's magnificent St. Nicholas Cathedral, which attracted the attention of the world's press and was attended by a wide range of guests, including heads of state, famous artists, members of aristocratic families, and distinguished guests from all over the world. This wedding became one of the most talked about social events of the time worldwide, with newspapers putting this magnificent wedding on their front pages to inform their curious readers. Caroline's mother, Princess Grace, considering Philippe Junot's past lifestyle and philandering personality, believed he was not the right partner for her daughter and had deep concerns about this marriage. Unfortunately, Grace Kelly was right about this. From the very beginning, the young couple's marriage faced many difficulties, including incompatibility, intense media pressure, and the couple's different expectations of life. Caroline, who was only 21 years old, still young enough to be considered at the beginning of her life, emotionally impressionable and open to new experiences, suddenly found herself in a glamorous and intriguing marriage to a man who was completely outside her familiar world, had a completely different lifestyle, and constantly attracted attention. Philippe's dazzling jet-set lifestyle, filled with luxury parties, international invitations, and exotic vacations, was completely at odds with Caroline's dignified royal protocol. Popular newspapers and magazines of the time ran headlines claiming that Philip had been seen with other women, even while married to Caroline, and that he had been seen getting close to other women at various events, parties, and vacation spots. This situation not only deeply wounded Caroline's pride as a woman, but also damaged the image of the royal family of Monaco. The media in particular scrutinized the couple's marriage, highlighting Philip's excessive behavior, his inappropriate statements to the press, and his relaxed attitude in public. Newspapers and magazines often used a harsh, even derogatory tone in their articles, which examined their troubled marriage in detail. Although both parties made efforts to save their marriage, it soon became apparent that the problems between them were deeper and insurmountable. And when the calendar showed 1980, Caroline and Philippe Junot announced to the public that they had decided to end their marriage, even though only 2 years had passed since their wedding. When they officially divorced in the final months of 1980, the world witnessed the end of a modern fairy tale, marked by a quiet but profound disappointment. Unfortunately, this was only the beginning of the tragedies Caroline would endure. Mother Grace Kelly was one of Hollywood's most admired stars. With her beauty, elegance, and talent, she was like the heroine of a fairy tale. However, on September 13th, 1982, a terrible event occurred that plunged the entire world and her family into mourning. Grace Kelly lost her life in an unfortunate car accident. This unexpected tragedy sent millions of people into deep shock, not only in Monaco but around the world. The accident occurred while Grace Kelly was driving with her daughter, Princess Stephanie, on Monaco's winding and steep mountain roads. The car lost control, veered off the road, and quickly turned into an irreversible disaster. According to one account, Princess Grace had suffered a brain hemorrhage while driving. Grace passed away the next day at the age of 52, despite the efforts. Millions of people who knew and loved her from the silver screen were overcome with deep sorrow, as if they had lost a close friend. The loss of her mother was devastating for Princess Caroline, both as a daughter and as a woman. Her mother's absence became one of the greatest voids in her life. Caroline, a young woman of 25 at the time, suddenly became one of the strongest pillars of support for her family following her mother's death. She stood by her father, Prince Rainier, supporting him both emotionally and practically. She also guided her younger siblings through this difficult period, embracing the role of a protective older sister. Royal responsibilities began to fall directly on her shoulders. As her father, Prince Rainier's health began to deteriorate over the years, the time came for her to take on practical duties in the country's administration. Her younger brother, Prince Albert, officially took over the administration of Monaco, assuming a leading position in state affairs. At that time, Prince Albert was unmarried and had no children. This situation created uncertainty regarding the future line of succession to the throne. Therefore, their father, Prince Rainier, amended the Constitution of Monaco through a constitutional amendment and reshaped the order of succession. Thanks to this constitutional amendment, if Prince Albert did not marry and have a legal heir, his siblings would automatically become the legal heirs to the throne. Thus, Caroline became the next in line to the throne. She was now not just a princess, but a politically and socially more powerful figure who could assume the leadership of the nation when necessary. Caroline's critical position continued until 2011. That year, Prince Albert married Charlene Wittstock, a former South African Olympic swimmer, ushering in a new era for the future of the throne. Caroline's place in the line of succession also changed with this marriage. With Albert's marriage, Caroline's position as first in line to the throne ended, and this role now passed to the new princess, Charlene. Although this was never officially expressed between her and Charlene, it created a sense of distance and coldness over time. In 2011, Charlene suffered a serious health crisis, and the palace spokesperson announced to the public that her health had become critical while she was visiting her homeland, South Africa. After experiencing various health complications, Charlene was admitted to a rehabilitation centre for a long-term recovery process. In Charlene's absence, Caroline once again assumed the leadership and representative roles she had taken on after her mother's death. Meanwhile, Caroline also experienced great joys and dramas in her emotional life. Caroline and her second husband, Stefano Casiraghi, crossed paths in 1982 at one of Monte Carlo's bright and lively evenings. The attraction felt at first sight quickly deepened into passionate love. The bond between them grew stronger every day, becoming a special story that everyone around them noticed. A member of the Casiraghi dynasty, one of Italy's most established and renowned families, Stefano Casiraghi, was a successful businessman, known both for his achievements in the business world and his reputation in social circles. This love opened a new chapter in Caroline's life. Born on September 8, 1960 in Milan, Italy's fashion capital, Stefano Casiraghi was known for his charismatic personality, elegant appearance, and boundless passion for adventure. His bold initiatives in sports and energetic demeanour caught Caroline's attention and made her admire him. After they met, the emotional bond between them quickly turned into strong love, passion, and unshakable trust. They were married in a magnificent wedding ceremony held at the Prince's Palace of Monaco on December 29, 1983. During their marriage, they had 3 children, whom they named Andrea, Charlotte, and Pierre. Each child brought a unique joy and happiness to family life. Caroline and Stefano balanced their royal duties and parental responsibilities with great love while enjoying a happy life with their children. Despite their busy protocol schedules, the time they spent together as a family was the most precious for them. They spent their summer vacations in quiet coves on the Mediterranean coast and long winter evenings chatting by the fireplace in their mountain homes. We don't know if they realized at the time that these moments would become precious memories they would cherish forever. However, I think that after the great pain they would experience some time later, these memories became the most valuable thing they had to hold on to. Stefano was known not only as a prince or a sports enthusiast, but above all as a father and husband devoted to his family, exemplary in his loyalty. His sensitivity to his children's needs and his unwavering support for Caroline. However, this perfect marriage and love story ended in tragedy in its 7th year. Unfortunately, on October 3rd, 1990, Caroline experienced another great tragedy that would change her life forever. Stefano Casiraghi lost his life in a speedboat accident on the blue waters off Monaco. Despite all rescue efforts, the boat, travelling at high speed, suddenly lost control, capsized violently, and quickly sank. Stefano's death left an irreparable wound in Caroline's heart. Losing the man she loved so suddenly and tragically at the height of her marriage was one of the most traumatic events of her life. From that moment on, Caroline took on the responsibility of being both mother and father to her 3 young children. After this great loss, Caroline, wanting to escape the constant attention of the press and the public, moved with her children to a quiet and secluded village in France. Here, she tried to build a new life, both to mourn and to provide a peaceful environment for her children. Despite the deep pain she carried within her, Caroline knew how to stand tall for her children's future. She took care to be a strong figure for them and to maintain her resilience in the face of life's challenges. The tragic end of their marriage did not erase Caroline's beautiful memories with Stefano. The love they shared, the laughter, the vacations, and the quiet evenings were still alive in the deepest corners of her heart. Caroline's attitude earned her admiration. In 1999, Caroline married for the 3rd time to Prince Ernst August of Hanover. Born in 1954 as a member of Germany's historic and prestigious Hanover royal family, Ernst August grew up surrounded by traditional aristocratic rules and the lifestyle of high society. However, despite being a member of a long-established European aristocratic family, Prince Ernst August of Hanover is known for his unconventional character and behaviour, which often sparked public debate. Today, his name appears not only in royal events, but also in sensational headlines in newspapers, and these stories are often not positive. His marriage to Princess Caroline in 1999 instantly made Ernst August the focus of international media attention. However, this intense interest was often fueled not by positive stories, but by scandalous behaviour and controversial events. Newspapers frequently reported on Caroline's stress and the unrest in their relationship. On July 20, 1999, the couple's only daughter, Alexandra, was born. Caroline had to cope with her husband Ernst August's problematic and sometimes erratic behaviour, triggered in particular by his excessive alcohol consumption. This situation negatively affected both the harmony within the home and their public image. In an incident that occurred in the early 2000s and received widespread coverage in the world press, Prince Ernst August was caught on camera urinating on the wall of the Turkish stand at the Expo 2000 fair in Germany. This behaviour was not only a personal scandal, but also led to serious diplomatic tensions with Turkey. As time went on, Ernst August's problematic behaviour did not diminish. On the contrary, it increased. Some violent acts threatened Caroline's peace and security, pushing their marriage to an unbearable point. This situation negatively affected both her mental and social life. Although the couple occasionally attempted reconciliation and compromise to overcome their problems, these efforts were unsuccessful in the long run. By 2009, they began living in separate homes, effectively initiating the separation process. Different sources provided conflicting information regarding the official divorce status. Some reports claimed the process was complete, while others suggested they were merely continuing to live apart. The end of her marriage was a turning point for Caroline, marked by two conflicting emotions. On the one hand, she felt a sense of relief at being freed from the long-standing atmosphere of unease and exhausting arguments, while on the other, she had to face the deep sadness and emptiness created by the closing of a chapter. The people saw Caroline not only as a princess, but also as a symbol of morale and stability. She always displayed a noble demeanour at all official ceremonies, international organisations, and diplomatic meetings where she represented Monaco. Her elegance, calmness, and balanced attitude strengthened her country's image. And so, we come to the end of our story about a period in Princess Caroline's life. You have witnessed a princess's journey woven with both pain and grace. What do you think was the most striking turning point in Caroline's life? Let's meet in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on new royal stories. Goodbye.